Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. The studio lights were softer than usual that morning, as if the room itself sensed what was coming. Kelly Ripa stood just off camera, fingers laced together so tightly her knuckles had gone white. She'd delivered breaking news and belly laughs for decades, navigated live television with a sparkle that felt effortless. But today, the sparkle wavered. Today, there was a heaviness in her chest she couldn't shake, because the man she loved had made a choice that would change everything. Mark Consuelos had always been her anchor, the steady calm to her whirlwind energy, the quiet strength behind her bright smile. Together, they were television's golden couple, partners in love, work, and life. Fans adored their playful banter, the easy affection that seemed immune to time. It felt permanent, unbreakable, until it wasn't. The night before, Kelly had sat at the kitchen table long after the house fell asleep. The clock ticked past midnight, then 1. She stared at her phone, rereading Mark's message, not because she didn't understand it, but because she wished she'd misunderstood. "I have to do this," he'd written. "I need to choose this path, even if it hurts." Her breath caught every time she read the words. Mark's shocking choice wasn't about scandal or betrayal. It was something quieter, something more devastating. He had decided to step away from their shared routine, from the life they had built in the public eye, to pursue a dream he'd buried for years, a project far away, months of separation, a future written in uncertainty. For Mark, it was a calling he couldn't ignore anymore. For Kelly, it felt like standing on the edge of a cliff she hadn't known existed. When he finally came home that night, the house felt too big for just 2 people. He set his bag down slowly, as if hoping the silence wouldn't notice him. "I didn't want to tell you over text," he said gently. "I know, I just didn't expect it to hurt this much." They sat across from each other, the same place they'd shared laughter, late-night snacks, and plans for the future. Mark reached for her hand, and she let him, but her eyes filled anyway. "I'm not leaving you," he said. "I'm choosing something I need to do. I wish it didn't mean distance." Kelly nodded, even as tears spilled over. She understood him. Maybe that was the hardest part. Understanding didn't soften the ache. Love didn't cancel out loss. Sometimes love made it sharper. The next morning, Kelly stepped into the studio with a brave face. She always did. The audience applauded as she walked out, unaware of the storm behind her smile. She took her seat, adjusted her cards, and breathed. But live television has a way of revealing truth. Halfway through the show, a simple question about family caught her off guard. Her voice trembled, her eyes glistened, and suddenly the mask slipped. "There are moments," she said softly, pausing as the room grew quiet, "when life asks you to be strong before you feel ready." The words weren't scripted, they were raw, real. Kelly wiped her eyes and tried to laugh it off, but the emotion lingered. Viewers noticed. Social media lit up within minutes. "Is Kelly okay? She looks heartbroken. Something's wrong." Behind the scenes, producers watched anxiously. They'd seen Kelly emotional before, but this was different. This wasn't a touching story or a heartfelt tribute. This was personal. When the cameras finally cut, Kelly stood up quickly, retreating to her dressing room. She closed the door and leaned against it, letting the tears come, the kind of tears that don't make noise, just ache. She thought of Mark packing quietly, trying not to wake her, of the calendar dates circled in red, of the empty chair at breakfast, of the future that suddenly felt like a question mark. Fans soon learned the truth, not through headlines or gossip, but through Kelly's own voice. Later that day, she shared a simple message online. Sometimes love means letting someone you love step into the unknown, even when it breaks your heart a little. The response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from people who saw themselves in her words, partners who'd faced distance, dreams that had pulled families apart before bringing them back together, or not. Mark responded quietly, too. I carry you with me wherever I go. Even love letters can't fill an empty room. The days that followed were some of the hardest Kelly had faced. She moved through routines on autopilot. Coffee tasted flat. Laughter came slower. At night, the bed felt impossibly wide. Yet, in the quiet, something unexpected happened. Kelly began writing again. Thoughts she'd pushed aside for years spilled onto the page. Fears, hopes, memories. She wrote about falling in love young, about building a life under a spotlight, about what it meant to choose each other again and again, even when the choices were painful. She wrote about strength that didn't roar, but whispered. Mark, thousands of miles away, read her words and felt the weight of what he'd asked her to carry. There were nights he questioned everything, nights when success felt hollow without her laugh echoing through the room. They spoke often, sometimes about nothing, sometimes about everything. I miss you, Kelly admitted one night, voice breaking. I know, Mark said. I miss you too, more than I can explain. Time moved forward, as it always does, slowly, then all at once. Kelly returned to the studio with a steadier heart, not healed, but healing. She allowed herself to be vulnerable on air, sharing just enough to let people see her humanity without turning her pain into spectacle. I'm learning, she said one morning, smiling through emotion, that sadness and love can exist in the same space, and that's okay. The audience applauded, some wiping away tears of their own. Months later, when Mark finally came home, the reunion wasn't dramatic, no grand gestures, just a long embrace in the doorway, foreheads pressed together, breathing each other in like oxygen. We did it, Kelly whispered. We did, Mark agreed, but we're not done choosing each other. The devastating sad news that once shattered her world became something else, a chapter of growth, resilience, and honesty. Not every love story is neat. Not every choice feels right in the moment, but sometimes heartbreak carves space for deeper understanding. Kelly Ripa didn't stop believing in love after Mark's shocking choice. She learned that love bends, love waits, love cries, and sometimes love survives the distance, stronger than before.
Heartbreak hits hard as Kelly Ripa is left in tears after Mark Consuelos makes a shocking and life-changing decision. In this emotional and deeply moving story, Kelly opens up about love, sacrifice, and the painful reality of supporting someone you love, even when it breaks your heart. From raw, on-air moments to quiet nights filled with doubt and longing, this devastating update reveals the strength behind Kelly's tears and the powerful bond that keeps them connected despite the distance. A story of love tested, hearts shaken, and hope struggling to survive. The devastating sad news that once shattered her world became something else, a chapter of growth, resilience, and honesty. Not every love story is neat, not every choice feels right in the moment, but sometimes heartbreak carves space for deeper understanding.